Assalamualaikum and hello. I am Dayan Kostitinor Akila and I'm representing my group number 2 for the Compost Project report. The methods used in the Compost project consist of 3 simple steps. The first method is by layering the compost materials. This is to create the perfect environment for bacteria and fungi to break down organic matter into compost. Next, the compost is put under a shade so that it is not in direct sunlight, because in direct sunlight the water moisture can be lost. So this way it can retain some moisture, but still the degradation level is going to be slow. Also, we need to burp the container so that the material does not become stagnant and rancid. The compost project takes about 4 weeks to be able to be finished. So on the first day, the assembly of the compost materials is done by using soil, compost from food scraps in the kitchen, and then letting it be placed under the sun. In this compost project, there are 4 layers consisting of eggshells, pear shavings with rice gruel, corn cob, as well as fish gills. Once the container is done, we did not put any boreholes, and that the choice of the container material, which is made up of plastic which is clear, is to test whether that the decomposition rate would be faster if we put it under a shade with access to some sunlight during the day. After week 1, once we touch the container, it is warm to touch, which indicates a slight increase in temperature compared to the atmosphere. And before we open the lid, there is water from condensation from the soil, and then when we observe it, there are mycelium growth on the corn cob. During week 2, it is found out that there are green algae growing on the corn cob. Other than that, the concave of the soil can be seen, which is visible between the corn cobs. For week 3, the mycelium growth has doubled, as well as the growth of the green algae. Finally, in week 4, the growth of mycelium has decreased and is replaced by the growth of the green algae. When poked through the soil, it is found out that the corn cob had fully disintegrated and that the soil has become soft and mushy to touch.
Hi, so today I'll be talking about my compost from week 1 to week 5. During the first week, what I had put first in my container. So this container is a clear plastic container with a lid, leaves and chicken skin, onion skin, soil and water were what I had put into my container. What are my parameters? I had the lid only slightly closed, allowing outside air to seep into the cracks, and the container was placed outside under the veranda. I had placed the container outside the veranda because I did not want to put it under full sun, fearing that my plastic might melt, to allow some air to seep in. I did not close my lid too tightly. In terms of layering my soil, there were 3 layers of soil in between each layer. So first I had put onion skin, then a bit of soil in the middle, then more onion skin and a bit of soil in the middle, and lastly chicken skin, and then I had topped it off with more soil. So on week 2, some observations that I have seen were that my chicken skin has turned a brown color. My onion skin, however, only has shown not really much signs of decomposition. There is a slight unpleasant smell that is emitted from the container. When I opened the container to smell it, it was not too pungent, however, it was quite unpleasant. The moisture from the chicken skin now has pooled at the bottom of the container. There were no organisms that could be seen that were growing under the naked eye. My thought would be that the temperature got too hot for these organisms, if there were any to begin with. During week 3, there was more signs of onion skin decomposition finally. So they're finally breaking down. The chicken skin now has turned brown and gelatinous. There is a stronger, unpleasant smell to the compost. When I had opened the container to take a smell, I had dry heaved. It was really unpleasant. I was coughing for a while. I had to close it back up. So now the onion skins are also breaking down more. More water is pooling at the bottom of the container. This time there was more water. There is no visible organisms growing. During week 4, the overall volume of the compost has decreased significantly when compared to week 1, 2, and 3. More than half of the onion skins have been broken down. So as of right now, more than half of the onion skins, I really couldn't see the onion skins. That the smaller pieces actually, not the bigger pieces. As you can see, the bigger pieces are not really decomposing as much. The unpleasant smell now has disappeared mostly. When I did open it, there was just a slight unpleasant smell, but more like it resembled rotten eggs, so it was more acceptable. The texture of the compost is more granular and soil-like, so as of week 4, the compost had become more soil-like. So during week 5, as you can see, this is week 5. The smell of the container when I had opened it, it was very pungent. It was not as unpleasant as week 4 and 3. However, the smell was really sweet, but it also stung the nose. So it was, to compare it, maybe it would smell a bit like alcohol, but also mixed with maybe, you know what, it might actually be the smell of rotting, like a rotting corpse, because if you smell the smell of like a rotting corpse, it does smell slightly sweet. So maybe I'll compare it to that. The texture of the compost now is more compared to soil. As you can see, there is still just a bit of water at the bottom. However, the only part of my compost that shows less decomposition would be the onion skin that was not covered by the soil. The overall color of the compost now is dark brown. It is significantly darker than week 4. And as I said, only the onion skins that were not buried in the soil remain. Thank you very much. This is the end of week 1 to week 5 of my compost.